Welcome to the Crazy Wisdom Podcast. I've got Vahram Avazian, and he is the founder of the Armenian network state for 5 years now. He generally believes that crazy blockchain, everything is going to get connected to AI, and is going to have avatars, and those avatars will go to work for us, and then we'll just go and like sleep and hang out and like think philosophically about the world. Is that right? Is that an accurate representation?
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot for the opportunity, for the invitation. Yeah, definitely. I think that's how I imagine. I think we need to be more creative. So the robots would do the doer thing, and we will do the maker thing. So we'll be the makers, and robots will be the doers.
And that's definitely what I've spent all morning. I told myself I was going to go for a walk, but then I got just totally, I've been in the last 24 hours. It's almost been just me vibe coding, addicted to vibe coding. It feels like a healthy addiction, but I'm just in this maker space where I'm just like, okay, here we are. Like, there's no limits left. It's just my limit to be able to communicate what I want. That's basically the only limit. And so where I can see it and like so many people are afraid of this future, but I'm not afraid at all. Like I'm afraid of some things, like with the Claude Anthropic guys with the U.S. government, that seems kind of crazy. But I'm like mostly very optimistic about at least what it's going to do for my own life. What do you think? Where are you right now?
Yeah, definitely. Of course, there are a lot of repercussions that we need to take into account, and I think the most important one should be AI in the military. All right, I mean, like how they want to use it. So, but again, it applies again to the bad guys and good guys. I mean, theory. Under any circumstances, there were like swords. I mean, 2,000 years ago, and again, bad guys and good guys, how they use it, right? And the same applies to AI. I mean, the same applies to electricity. Same applies to nuclear energy. I mean, so the nuclear energy was, needed to be used for electricity and for energy. But all of a sudden, I mean, humans. I mean, the bad guys think, oh, well, why not? Let's bomb each other or whatever. So I think same applies to AI. Okay, why not use and kill each other so that we can be proud of? I could create such an advanced AI program that could kill 1 million. I mean, of 1 million enemy people or whatever. I think this is under any circumstances. What I think is that humanity technologically advances, but socially and biologically stays the same. That's it, unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, technologically we are wow. I mean, every day, I mean, you get a new wow thing. But socially, I mean, if you read 3,000 years ago how the Armenians would fight Assyria, how the Assyria would fight, I don't know, Babylon would fight Egypt. And then 2,000 years ago, Roman Empire versus Persia versus Armenia versus, I don't know, Byzantine Empire. So that's crazy. And you all of a sudden you realize, oh no, man, everything is same. I mean, just you have different actors. So it is not the agent, but the structure that is sick. And the agents are the same. The agents are different, but the structure is the same. So basically, those different agents come and fill the vacuum of this sick structure. So that's how I think AI would also function. I mean, this sick structure needs to be cured socially and biologically as well, not only technologically. And I think this is the biggest challenge that humanity faces now, because you develop in the 21st century, you develop faster than all the other centuries combined of humanity. But when you go back to history, you see that, okay, what is happening now? I mean, the conflicts that we have, U.S., Iran, Russia, Ukraine, or whatever, and then you say, oh no, man, come on. I mean, that's like exactly 1,500 years ago, 2,000 years ago. So the same. I mean, just the actors are different, and now we have I don't know, space, a cyber attack. But 2,000 years ago we had like land attack. So that's it. In general, I think
It's the scale.
same picture. Yeah.
Yeah, the scale has changed. I love what you said about the biology because I've heard a lot about people making this point in terms of sociology, that sociologically with human relations, human nature stayed the same. it's a very common argument. But can you talk more about biologically? Because the biologically, there's the connection with technology, but then there's also just like, what do you mean by biology there?
Oh yeah, when it was Locke or Hobbes, John Locke or Hobbes, who said that a human to human is like a wolf. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a human mindset, human psychology, unfortunately, in my opinion, is based on greed and self-aggrandizement.
Uh,
And they never realize that this is enough, man. I want more and more and more and more. So, and that's a trap, I think. And if you go back to history, you will see that all, I mean, big warriors, I mean, dictators, if I can call them big, yeah. I mean, they lost because they couldn't say to themselves enough. So they couldn't stop. That's a trap. They couldn't stop. They couldn't stop, and that's an interesting thing. I mean, that's a human trap, and this greed and self-aggrandizement management. I think is a must to look into and understand how it can be solved. And that's what I.
what do you think about the religious aspect of that? It's not necessarily religious, because I think the same thing happens with the religious circles of what you just said, of just like self-aggrandizement, and then it builds this crazy sort of like spiritual. It doesn't only happen in religious circles, but it also happens in New Age circles where they kind of like, there's never enough, right? You got to get the followers, you got to get the leaders, they got to do all these different things. The same thing happens there as the war leaders and everything like that. But then it does feel like there are authentic spiritual teachers who kind of like figured what you just set out and are like, oh, I guess that doesn't lead anywhere. And so they sort of spoke truth and beauty and joy and God and all these different things. Do you think that exists? Do you buy it into that?
Well, I think for me, I think it's more important to see what faith does and not the religion, because religion for me is somehow a political phenomenon.
Yeah, the political.
Yeah, and that, for me, Christianity is a wonderful, I mean, example of a network state, by the way. As a religion, I mean, it was a good network state. It could kind of destroy the very foundations of the Roman Empire, for example. But yeah, I think there's the human nature, and you need to be saint, I think, or need to work on yourself to go to the saint level. Like, I mean, where he had in the Middle Ages, like becoming saint or whatever, in order to kind of overcome this challenge. Because I think it's a big trap. I have a friend who was the deputy head of the state. Oh, I don't want to tell the name of the state, say the name of the, but yeah, he would tell me that the president, and he was the like the second person after the president in the administration. So I would say that the president that I knew, I had known before, and the president that I started working with were pretty different people. The same person, but different, because I mean power. So that's a power trap. So they start, I mean, losing the touch with reality. They start, I mean, getting into this trap of greed and self-aggrandizement. They start wanting more and more, etc., etc. So this is super interesting, and I think that's like a challenge that God creates. I mean, if you call God or a creator or universe or whatever. So yeah. Yeah, I mean that gray, I mean, haired guy sitting over there. So basically, yeah, I mean, maybe that is a challenge that he wants to see whether, I mean, this person is capable of, I mean, stopping himself or herself or not. And it turns out that's not capable. And same applies to this AI. Like AI can do wonderful things, but all of a sudden people think, oh, why not use it in military, and start killing each other? And yeah.
And it's going to lead to the same self-aggrandizement. I think about it a lot myself, and into how, like, so now I've got this infinite power to build whatever software I want. The software is not that interesting. I'm not going to go kill people with the software, and I don't really worry about that within me of like going into those levels. But once you add the biotech, once you add the just like really powerful stuff you'll be able to do with this technology somewhat soon, it's just so crazy to see that, like, and like to see this power of the gods. We're going to have power of gods in some sense. I don't know if you buy into that, but it's like, And so I think it's going to be that loop on overdrive. And a lot of people are going to make bad decisions. And I think they're already making bad decisions. I think Sam Altman, it's hard, it's hard to look into something. I don't know him. I haven't had any interactions with him. All I've had is sort of, outside, like what's going on. But then you look at what happened with Meta and Mark Zuckerberg, who I definitely think is following Bill Gates and what Bill Gates was doing, because Bill Gates was not up to a lot of great stuff. I feel like Bill Gates definitely fell into that trap. It feels like a lot of other people are falling into that trap when they get to these high levels and they're making these decisions with there's just so much power and also so much stress from other people with power going in. Like, what do you think of that? Like, it's the same pattern, right? It's just inside of the tech world. And I think a lot about the tech world because I come from these circles, and in 2020, March 2020, I left it and I was like, I don't really want anything to do with this anymore. Inside of those power circles that Silicon Valley that have sort of just morphed into this thing that I think is probably a self-aggrandizement ego trip for a lot of them. What do you think?
Definitely, under any circumstances, I would say that those people get into this trap, definitely. And the problem, I think the biggest problem is that they kind of lose the touch with reality, and they think that they can do everything and there is nothing that can stop them. And but of course, I mean, life is so interesting that sometimes you get so interesting surprises, like you said, about, I mean, what bad decisions they make, and they already make decisions and they already harm, like what happened in Venezuela when they attacked on Venezuela, right? The soldiers like vomited, right? I mean, I read it, it's open source, I don't have any further information, but it was like I mean, they used the crazy whatever new innovation in, if we can call it an innovation, of course, in military tech. And one article claimed that they got it from Russia or whatever, which is another crazy, I mean, topic. Just brought it from Russia, and they used it to on Venezuela. Like, can you imagine? I mean, using this type of crazy technologies, like, for example, like poisoning entire cities, for example. I don't know, or whatever. This can be a really crazy thing, and unfortunately, it is already happening in a subtle way. And also the aliens, not only Bill Gates, not only this tech, Silicon Valley tech. I think there are also guys who do not show up. I don't just like to go. I don't want it to go in these conspiracy names or whatever. But definitely, there are a lot of guys who don't show up, but they are even more powerful than those who show up. And definitely, those are under any circumstances, the way the world functions now, those guys are sick. Because yeah, definitely. I mean, if they are the ones who make decisions, like in secret clubs, in basements, if we can call it that way, right? I think their decision should be good for the population. So I have always been sure that if you want to stop child trafficking, you can definitely do it. If you truly have will to stop narco trafficking, you can definitely do it. But definitely you don't have that will to do it. Because
that will leads to decisions about your own safety in life, right? Yeah.
So, the most important point, in my opinion, is that the world now functions based on three institutions. Now, one is a nation state, which is in crisis now, the Westphalia system nation state. The second is multinational companies, these big companies, to show up and don't show up guys behind them. And the third is religious institutions, religious currents. And all these, I mean, these three institutions kind of rule the world. They are the elites. And in my opinion, those who do not want to obey these three institutions, those are the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension, and I call them the network status, or the crazy, but in a good sense, crazy people who want to live in free. And also, I think that this fourth dimension has the task to pitch to that gray-haired guy over there. Why I say this? Because I'm absolutely certain that there is an energy going on, right? I mean, in the space, in the universe, and we should definitely pitch that Earth still, I mean, has good things to offer. Like, I mean, So the Earth is not those three institutions with their sick elites. Earth has a lot of good people, and this fourth dimension people, this fourth establishment must do this pitching to God so that God sees, okay, Earth, we don't need to send another flood or whatever to. I mean, this is hypothetical, right? I'm not saying that some flood is coming and one Ark of Noah is coming together. Just I mean, the concept. I mean, I want to make a concept. So that yeah, this pitching is important so that outsiders should see that there are good people and there are good, I mean, intentions here, and those people want to live in freedom, but in true freedom and not in, I mean, constitutional freedom, which doesn't exist at all.
Yeah, which has kind of been erased. It's so hard to figure out when it got erased. I've been trying to track down. It has to do with a lot with the people behind the scenes in the secret government that was established in 1947, at least in the United States, with the National Security Act. And then in Britain it goes longer. But so there's a lot of questions I have. Where do NGOs fit into the three institutions, right? Because we have a nation states, corporate state, and religious institutions, and then with a fourth that transcends them all. Where do NGOs fit in? My guess would be somewhere in the corporate state, like as tools of the corporate state, right?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, how who the guys are in these NGOs. Yeah. So sometimes you see that so many good young people with, I mean, burning ideas in a positive sense, but then all of a sudden you see, oh my gosh, what they are doing or who they are dealing with, who they are hanging out with. You understand that, okay, and all of a sudden you see that those guys have new office, I mean, goods, I mean, new cars. So you understand that, oh no, man, I mean, this is gone already. So yeah, of course there are NGOs and there are people who try to kind of resist at this, and I mean, kudos to them. But yeah, for that, I mean, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, they can be government puppets, elite puppets.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, they just don't have independent. I mean, at least the big NGOs that we know. I mean, at least the big ones that we know.
Yeah. It's so crazy because I think I don't often get the opportunity to converse with somebody who has a similar viewpoint on this sort of all the different meta angles, which is like there's no make wrongs, there's no sort of like it's just the world doing what the world does, right? And so, but we don't need to go into the darker stuff because I study on my own plenty. Like so, let's go into the good stuff of like the network state of what could be. I did a great interview like yesterday or the day before about solar punk and how we're moving to a world where it's already happening in Africa, where communities are, have their energy met pretty drastically by solar power. And it's just improving and improving and improving. And these people don't exist inside the state. I guess they're part of the network state that you're talking about, but they're just like, but they have lineages which have been unbroken. I do think in the United States, it's probably in the is definitely the boomers. The boomers stopped being part of the Western Enlightenment tradition. Maybe their parents were already on the way, but it feels like there's some sort of breakage. It has to do with economics and abundance and maybe secularism and all these different things. But it feels like there was a breaking point there, which it didn't exist in Africa, doesn't exist in a lot of different places. I don't know where you're from. Oh, no, you're from Armenia. Yeah. Maybe exists in Armenia. But what do you think about this? And so in Africa, you've got the communities with the lineages that are. I think it has to do with abundance and scarcity, where it's just like the scarcity somehow keeps communities together in this way that abundance breaks. But I'm not sure on that one. But they have solar power, so they are network states that are sort of outside the state that are doing what the state does in the United States, which is give power. Does what they do in Europe, does what they do in Argentina, where it's like, okay, the state gives the power, the state does the security, the state does all these different things. So there's the communities that already exist, and then there are people like me who are sort of like post abundance, and are like wanting that sort of spiritual lineage and recreating it out of history and like Enlightenment tradition. But I threw a whole bunch at you. What are you most excited about responding to?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. As I said, the nation state is in crisis because after Westphalia, the very notion, the very foundation of the nation state was about borders, about like uh, uh, control. But as of now, I mean, globalization, internet, flow of information, flow of migrants. I mean, the nation state cannot control it anymore, and that's why they cannot deliver anymore the services that they had to deliver, and especially in the so-called third world, where they cannot they do not have this institutional memory to deliver this. So yeah, that's why they cannot do it. In 1990s, I was living in Armenia after the earthquake during the Karabakh War, and of course, I mean, I really remember. I mean, there was no power, there was no electricity, there was no water, and we would even live in tents, in tents, and that the community was awesomely organized. I mean, I vividly remember that was maybe the most vivid memory that I have from my childhood. I mean, we would go and plant, for example, potato. We would go and plant. I mean, together. I mean, look, 20 people, and that was so. I mean, nice. I mean, to say that was an actual network state that I can train, because we were not dependent on a state, because the state wouldn't do anything for us. I mean, we would just plant the potato. They would just plant. I mean. I don't know, cucumber, etc., etc. So and then we did, because there was no other thing. Then I was, and Armenia was in blockade, I mean, by Azerbaijan and Turkey. But uh, but yeah, I mean, the very idea of the network state is this: to transcend, to overcome this challenge that the nation state cannot deliver anymore. And even in Germany, like places, sometimes states fails to deliver. In Spain, I mean, you remember the flooding in Valencia that happened. I mean, wait, Matt, you are a new member, and what are you doing? I mean, I pay tax. And they pay, I mean, you work and you pay almost 50% tax or something, I mean, right off your salary. And then all of a sudden it turns out they do not have, I mean, resources to cope with these challenges. It means that the state is corrupt as well. The state is in decay, like Fukuyama used to call this the decay of American politics. I mean, the state, the nation state, is in decay. And that's why I say the network state is a solution. But the network state on serious level, on as I said, the fourth establishment, pitching to God, and different nodes connecting with each other on different geographies. Like, for example, one node in America, in Argentina, the other in US, the other in Canada, the other in Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, etc., etc. So getting together and trying to do transactions, business, etc., etc. That's how I see it. But of course, geographical boundaries are still prevalent, and we need to take care of that. And my idea was also, I mean, to kind of connect diasporas. So that's why I also was involved in this Armenian network state project, to kind of connect the Armenian diaspora. But that doesn't mean that only the Armenian diaspora. There are a lot of diasporas, like for example, I mean, Greek diaspora, Indian diaspora. So yeah, I mean, but still, yeah, in order to succeed, you need to have a critical mass, or this type of current. And that's why, I mean, I mentioned that Christianity was like a network state. I mean, Jesus could collect this critical mass, right? I mean, it was a wow effect. I mean, nowadays it is not that easy to go and tell something and people, I mean, just get burned with your ideas. It's not that easy, because I mean, 2000 years ago, I mean, you would definitely have that opportunity. I mean, coming from a high level, I mean, consciousness, and telling that. But now, I mean, you have info everywhere, and you can definitely go and check who is this guy, fake or not, etc., etc. Yeah. And yeah, so it's a bit difficult. That's why I still think that nowadays, it is not only enough, it is not enough all just to reach out to people's brains, but you need also to touch their hearts, and so that they emotionally believe, that they emotionally feel that they belong to this, I mean, fourth establishment. And for this, I think these movie technologies, I think, can help, because people do not read now. I mean, there's no time. So that's why I think you need to make sure movies and kind of start bombing them, the platform, so that with social media, with everything, so that they can see that, oh wow,
Which
this
is
is
going to
subjects.
become it's going to be so much easier to create those movies. I saw my first example of an opinionated AI channel video on Twitter that like caught my attention in this way because it was opinionated. You could tell that somebody put some taste into it. It was still obviously AI, which they didn't try to hide, which already turns off a lot of people. But it's going to become easier and easier. It'll look less like AI. It'll become more indistinguishable from real high production value stuff. And also all the tools, not just the AI tools, but all the other technology tools that can be built by AI are going to make the actual movie creation, if you want to go out and spend $2 million to create a movie, will make it all a lot easier. So the ability to create media stories, and then we've got software as media, which is really interesting, which will meld with the movie making being easier and cheaper. And so people will be able to create these stories that will be able to move people's emotions and hearts. Then it goes back to the darker stuff of like, well, that's what a lot of the intelligence agencies were doing, where they were making movies in order to do these things, to merge culture. It feels like they're going to have less power. They're still very powerful right now. And they're going to have less power as this nation state sort of transcends boundaries. But I really like this point of essentially like you've got to speak to people's hearts. And how do you speak to people's hearts? Well, through stories. And what I really like personally, I love movies to understand history. It sounds like you do a lot of historical research as well. And what I really lack right now, which I may actually make a movie about if the conditions are right, is about the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantium. There are no movies about that really interesting historical period. And we consider, like in the West, we consider is very interesting you being Armenian because you're like also Christian, but in this other Eastern Orthodox church. But in the Roman Empire, it feels like it all ended in 496 Rome, right? And then, but it just kept on going for like 1,000 years. And that part is not part of our historical understanding at all in the West. Like only autists know that. It's really beautiful. Have you ever seen any movies like that? Are there any movies about Armenia?
I have seen a lot of reels about the Byzantine Empire, but not movies, of course. And I think that's a pity because the Byzantine Empire collapsed on May 29, 1453, when 1,000 years later, yeah. And even we even had Armenian emperors there because Armenians were also, Greeks, Armenians, they were very powerful there. Byzantine history and Armenian history are very intertwined with each other.
They're both intertwined, right?
Was
They're both intertwined, right? Armenia.
because for thousands of years, we're dealing with Greeks and with the Romans, and for example, 1071, the Manasket battle when the Seljuks made the Turks could defeat the Byzantine Empire. It was in Armenia. Manasket was an Armenian place. Yeah. I think these type of things needs to be. I think the Western narrative must be challenged. This is good thing. Yeah, because the Western narrative. I don't know. You know Samuel Huntington, right?
Yeah.
If I am not mistaken, Samuel Huntington once said
The Clash of Civilizations.
if I am not, Clash of, but if I am not mistaken, it was him. Or maybe people can correct me afterwards. He was basically saying that the only advantage, this is very interesting, the only advantage that the West had over the rest, if we can call it that way, was the ability to create better quality in like brackets, better quality weapons of mass destruction.
Wow.
That's it. So then an Egyptian writer, I don't remember Taha Hussein, I don't remember his name, Taha Hussein, Egyptian writer says, civilization is not about Mercedes or Boeing. Civilization is about when you treat an elders, when you see someone in the street, suffering, and then you go approach, etc. So basically, this is interesting. The West claim that the civilization is about rapid growth, economic growth, etc., etc.
Yeah,
But
interesting. Yeah.
I don't think so. And I will bring a very interesting example. We did the Armenian network set in Yerevan. In the office, we had a very close discussion. 5 people, I mean, very high level people who had been a state, run and who were running the state before. So 5 people, and we decided to raise funds for shooting an Armenian African movie. Why? Because we think that Africa is also old, comes from old, and the Armenians are old, so we can shoot a good movie of how the real civilization is about. Like what the real civilization is about is not about like Mercedes. Then the Africans needs to understand that if you don't have Mercedes or BMW, it doesn't mean that you lag behind. I mean, it's them who lag behind and not you. And can you imagine 2 days later, just 2 days later, someone knocked our door, office door, and some black guy with a cross, huge cross on him, entered and said that I am interested in shooting a movie about Armenia and Africa. I was shocked. Oh man, how intelligence works! How intelligence works! So that was crazy. I mean, it was a without phone meeting. I mean, there was no phone there that we had this meeting, and that was crazy. And that was a not even pre-seed stage. It was an ideal stage. I mean, we didn't have money. We just talked about it. But some intelligence realized that that can be a challenging thing to them.
Yeah.
At a later stage, when some Africans realize that now it is an advantage and not a disadvantage, right? That we live community, and we respect our elders, we respect our parents more than in the West they do, right? That we live in community, and this is not a disadvantage, it's an advantage. We are not in the trap of individualism and capitalism, that you need to make profit, you are running, and all of a sudden you die and you realize that your life is wasted, yeah? So you just spend your time on making money and nothing else. So that was the movie, I mean, idea. And when that guy approached, and I basically told him that, okay, very interesting. I mean, we are very thankful that you come. So we are interested in connecting with African tribes, not the state, but tribes, because you mentioned tribes are out of the state sector.
Yeah.
Because statesmen are puppets, we know.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's another thread there, but the thread I want to go into is a really good point about the capitalism and the Western adopted a model. I think it's actually Marx. I think, well, no, it goes back to the French Revolution and then Karl Marx, and then the reaction to those two things that happened, basically, where all of a sudden with the French Revolution, I was reading about it last night, all of a sudden we went from this humanities-based language word cell type of, you learn Latin, you learn Greek, you learn all these things, you get connected into this stream of history through language. And then the French Revolution came and said, oh, numbers, science. So I mean, I like, just me saying the word science opens up a whole bunch of pathways about what science is, and we can go into those. But like math, science, rationality, all these things were opened up in the French Revolution. And then with Karl Marx was like, okay, well, capitalism, numbers, bad. All of that stuff is bad, or we need to do a revolution so we can get the means of production. And then that just kept on going and going and going. And it really feels like there's a sickness or something in the Western soul about power and about all these different things, but also wanting the power. So like, because all the people with the critical theory stuff has been really interesting to live through, because my sister is a communist revolutionary. So I like understand this from a like why those things happened at a very like doctrine level of very young at my age. I understand that there are social problems, and those social problems are really important. But at the same time, there's a power thing where it's like, okay, well, I see that power exists over there, and I want that power for myself. The same thing we were talking about earlier about the aggrandizement. That feels like it happens a lot. So the math, that feels like how the traditions broke. It's just ways for imperatives. But yeah, what do you think?
well, I mean, I think for me the most important thing is the intentions, and not the why do you learn that math, and why do you learn that physics? I mean, what do you want to use it for? That comes also to the nuclear energy. If you want to use it for bringing electricity, power to people, that's good. But if you want to bomb people, I think it's not good. That's the civilization for me. I think the intention. How do you threat, the others, and that's how I think the Eastern philosophy differs from the Western philosophy. Though in the East we also had, uh, crazy thing like the Mongols coming and destroying everything. But that was a nomadic culture, right? That was the nomadic. They kind of couldn't absorb the developed cultures. Also, that's why they started a bit destroying everything, vandalizing everything that they could. But in the end of the day, if you look to China, India, Persia, Armenia, and the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, you realize that, and also the Mesopotamia, right? Mesopotamia countries like Sumeria, Akkad, Babylon, Assyria, etc. So you realize that these people were definitely trying to kind of build up societies based on values. And though again, this can be challenged. Again, I'm saying this can be challenged. But again, I'm absolutely certain that these last 400-500 years were about the Western dominance, and the Western dominance was about the better weapons of mass destruction. And when some people, I thought, for example, I was an English teacher in Colombia, right? In Mistrato and in San Antonio del Chami. It's a jungle. Those are jungle towns in Colombia, small villages, and there were a lot of indigenous people. So basically, these indigenous people would tell me that land and soil for us is different. For us, it is a sacred thing. For you, it's a capital to make profit out of it. For us, it is, for the white man, they will say, it's a capital to make profit out of it. Yeah. For us, it is a sacred thing. We worship land, we worship soil, right? So definitely, and who says that Christopher Columbus was having an advantage? No, he had an advantage because he had weapons, and they didn't. Those guys didn't. They just in for example the Aztecs then, or I don't know, the Mayas, etc., etc. So who says that they were behind? They were lacking behind? No, of course they were not. The most important thing is the goal, the intention. Why do you want to go there? To that level. What do you want to make? And same applies to AI. Same apply to I don't know, this or that new phenomenon. Though again, I can be challenged here because I still think that, though I respect traditional medicine a lot, and I really love. I was in Colombian jungles, people are just using ayahuasca, jahe, etc. But still, if you look at the statistics, you see that now humans live definitely longer than they did before. Definitely. There is no question there. And it comes to say that, of course, science also helped, with longevity, with etc. But again, to do what? So that's the question. If you create a very good value system where everyone is happy, that's good. Not everyone is happy, but everyone is not suffering at least. Yeah. But when you see what is going on in the world, and when you see this crisis that especially the young people are in, then you realize that, oh no, man, I think there is something wrong here. And there's the capitalism to blame for, and I think that capitalism is living at the last stage of
let's talk about that.
But who knows what it capsulated? I don't know. Capsulated.
It's only popped up. I'm so glad that I have this training from my sister when I was younger in socialism, in communism. A lot of it I find to be really not great. But the critique of capitalism is really interesting, and capitalism, it feels like it's just about to merge, transcend itself, will no longer work in the same way it has worked for a really long time. And so then I look at the mayor of New York in the socialism, and then also like of my millennial compatriots who don't doubt capitalism at all, in the United States, but also have a lot more capital. That's the most interesting contradiction I see is with my sister as well. It's like this having capital and then feeling guilty. It feels like a Western Puritan sort of thing as well. But that being said, it's like, okay, if economics changes foundationally, capitalism changes foundation, which it seems really clear that it's already this is happening inside of software. Like capitalism for software is very, very different than it was only a year ago. And so what does that do? Will it be just abundance? Like if there's no more scarcity, how does capitalism work, right? Because that's what capitalism is based about, scarcity of the interest rates in factories and all this other stuff. What do you think?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I think the capitalist philosophy would find something else to exploit on, right? Yeah. Because I think it's about exploitation. I'm coming from my birth certificate is from the Soviet Union, so I definitely understand. I definitely understand, what communism is, because in the 1990s were still communist shadow Armenia, right? And my parents, of course, lived under communism, so I myself couldn't live under communism, for example. Because for me, telling what you want to tell, I think is a must. So I couldn't definitely live under this, censorship, right? But yeah, I think capitalism. I think capitalism will get into a new. I think capitalism wants to transform itself something new, like a neo-capitalism or whatever, so that it can still work. And it's about the elites.
Exploit. What will it exploit?
Yeah, because we have more people now on Earth, so it's good. To kind of create. New, how to say it, new foundations for to exploit. Those people, right? Instead of, for example, I don't know, for example, manufacturing factories, the robots can do that now, right? We can basically create, I don't know, just exploiting, for example, artists, or I don't know, exploiting those who think creatively, kind of trying to also exploit their ideas. And
Yeah, I think that's like what's going to happen, right? So there's going to be people who use this technology to become hyper creative, and then the labor market will, like, most people think the jobs are going away, but I just don't see how the AI gets good at this foundational seed of creativity. I see how it gets everything surrounding that seed of creativity, but that seed of creativity feels like it's going to be human based for a long time. And at that point, that becomes really valuable. Who can become the seed of creativity? Is that a mass mainstream thing? Can the mainstream create the seed of creativity?
I think so. And unfortunately, as I say, again, the problem here is that humans who have power get into this power trap, and they would definitely try to maximize the reach that they have, Because if they cannot exploit, for example, a Chinese labor, right? To work, for example, $10 per month, for example, or $100 per month, so that they would, because now the robots do that, so they would definitely find another way to exploit. Those people who do not have power or lack, the equivalent power. Because I think it was Thucydides. I don't know how in English people pronounce his name. The great Greek historian who wrote about the Peloponnesian Wars. So he basically said, this is the most interesting sentence that I find, relevant to all political and social discussion. Right, as it is in question between the equals in power. Because the strong will do what they can, and the weak will suffer what they must.
Yeah. Okay, that's
So,
really interesting. Yeah, go for it.
and he said this 2,500 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3,500 years, and nothing changed as of now. Because you see, I mean, the bullying that comes from the strong against the weak.
We're seeing it right now with the Epstein files. Like that's a perfect example of what you're saying in the 100-year thing, where it's just like all the weak people who ended up in the sphere of influence from Epstein were harvested basically. And so that's just gonna continue. So, and there's just masses of people who have no power.
Yeah.
Unless they
Millions, even millions of people.
yeah. Unless they collaborate. And I guess that's where the network state comes in, right? Because the network state will create the links between people with power in some sort of new thing. I don't feel like it will be like the socialism of the past of like unions, because that's what it was, right? A union. Will do like
Not necessarily. I think this should be like um, the main idea of the network state is, as I said, this fourth establishment kind of defeating the geography. So kind of overcoming the geographical barriers so that you can connect with each other, and you don't obey anymore the allies. I mean, those strong. So because you are also strong as of now. I mean, this is the idea. Right? I mean, you kind of, I mean, have, for example, these elites can have, I mean, billions, trillions of dollars of wealth, and they have, for example, private military companies behind them. They have intelligence helping them, etc. And then all of a sudden comes a network state which has, I don't know, 1 billion people behind it with intelligence and with everything. And okay, let's come and see who is stronger now. Yeah, I mean, this is the idea. But again, as I said, this needs to be done carefully and with a critical mass, because all the time this intelligence and these areas will definitely come to kind of exploit it, to kind of divert it. Because when they see that they cannot defeat it, they try to divert it. Yeah, they divert it.
yeah. Okay, so that's really relevant for me, and we're past the hour. If you have to go, let me know. We can take another 10 minutes. The idea of the coordinated action in the age of information, with network states becoming a power center that threatens the current power structures, and I definitely agree that the current power structures react poorly to anything that is coming in to try to threaten their power or their perceived power. And that feels spicy, and it feels really spicy for me because I'm not interested in fighting the previous political structures. It just doesn't feel like a good use of my time, or good use of my life, really. And so like, it feels like it's so funny because in the U.S. for the past 60 years, as the boomers kind of have been spinning their narratives, the narrative is always, you got to fight within the system. The system is too powerful. You got to change the system from within. And it feels like with the Epstein stuff and everything else with the COVID pandemic, it just feels like that is totally vacant now. There is no point in trying to change the current system, in my personal opinion. So we have to create parallel structures, right? And those parallel structures, like all it feels like me doing is just creating joy, beauty, peace, but not in this sort of like pacifist way of like being naive about it. But so that's all I got to focus on is just creating those things. But then when does that become a threat to the current power structures?
Definitely. I think in theory it is very beautiful to say that we are creating parallel structures, and we are not dealing with you guys. I mean, you can be in peace. So do not get frightened. So we are good guys, etc. Of course, I mean, they are not kids. They understand that. Of course, I mean, because you are bringing an earthquake, social earthquake.
Yeah.
Because the resource, the biggest resource that they have is the human that they have.
Yeah.
Of course, they exploit the human to create this wealth. Crazy. I don't know, Epstein-like fantasies, etc. Right? And of course, they need humans. And all of a sudden, a lot of humans see that, oh, there is a powerless structure. Let's go to this powerless structure. Why should we suffer yet? And if there is a room, there is a door that we can open and go. This is the hell, and this is the heaven, right? So why not going to the heaven? Let's go to the heaven, right? And definitely, it's not, that easy to say that, okay, we are creating a powerless structures. And what I would say is that there are a lot of people in this current establishment, this religious elites, multinationals and nation states, who definitely understand that they are facing a huge challenge because the population has, it's very good. We will end up on 10 billion, right? Soon, I don't know when, but 10 billion is a huge number, right? 10 billion people. And it's not that easy to control that type of amount, right? And definitely understand that they need to do something. And I do not see a 100% protection from their side. That they are protected and you cannot do anything against them, etc. Of course you can. But the thing is that you need to be very careful. You need to go to this critical mass stage in order to challenge them. And there are a lot of people within those elites who definitely would like maybe somehow join this, because some of them are not there by their will. Some of them have to be there in order to survive. So if they see that there is a powerful structure which is better, which is with dignity and everything, then they would definitely be able to commit to that parallel level. But again, as I say, in theory this is really good, but in practice or in reality, yeah. Of course, that we will see a lot of conflicts coming, a lot of even danger coming. And they don't want to get into physical annihilation and everything. Yeah. So that's why I think this is a very seed stage now, and this needs to be boiled and boiled and boiled so that millions and millions of people understand that this is the way to go, and then we will see how it ends up. But yeah, definitely it's not that easy to kind of avoid those institutions that now rule the world. Is not a joke. They definitely see everything. I told you about the movie. It's African Armenian movie. That's crazy. Just to precede the idea stage, and the people get frightened, and they definitely send someone to kind of collect information so that they can be prepared. Before even it comes to life, they want to defeat it or to divert it. Yeah, this is crazy. And how come we say that you can definitely create moral structures? No, definitely they see it. They have better. They have state satellites we do not have. They have. I don't know. They can definitely hear you. You can. They listen to your conversations and everything. Come on. So it's not. That easy to claim that. That's why. Yeah, I see that. It needs to be an evolutionary change and not a revolutionary change.
I love it.
Revolutionary change doesn't end up good. Like the Soviet Union is a good example. Yeah, okay, so I can say that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How can our listeners find out more about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. My name is surname, so I'm very well found there. And also, I have also Wikipedia page, and actually, but people can just Google my name, and also they can also enter to our website, networkstate.io. So there also they can find information about the network state concept and everything. Yeah.
Nice. Awesome. I'll put those things in the show notes.